So in terms of your training and your preparation now, so what are sort of where would you say you are in terms of perimenopause and menopause, and what are the main issues for you now at the moment, or main symptoms?
So I keep thinking, because they are seem to be longer gaps between my periods, but then I'll have a chunk of very irregular, so every 3 weeks, but then it broadens out to 9 weeks. So it's all over the place, and every time it sort of like broadens out to 9 weeks, I think maybe that's the end.
Yes.
That would be great. And then it's not. So I'm still working that part out, but the impact that it's had is on my sleep, on this irregular periods.
How does it affect your sleep?
I think, like a lot of ladies, is that and this is a symptom I've read about, is that you can't switch your brain off at night. The anxiety levels get a little bit higher, and also through the evening or through the night sweats, so the hot flashes. Now, I've always been somebody who sweats through the night, so when the sweating sort of happens, and it does happen pretty much every night, I think I've always been a sweater, so it wasn't an unusual thing. The fact that my bed is soaking,
okay, so
is one of those things that I'm. You know, we discussed this. I think I'm putting up with it. And perhaps I don't have to put up with it. It's something I'm still looking at, but it's that ability to just know that it's happening.
And so actually getting off to sleep, having interrupted sleep, that's got worse for you.
It has got worse.
And then you mentioned, well, obviously you've still got the irregular periods which you're hoping are going to stop. What about you talked about the sort of your feelings and
it's the mood swings, and again, I don't think somebody might tell me otherwise, but I didn't think I had mood swings during the life of my my life of my periods, and it's only just in the last couple of years that it's a higher level of mood swings, and it's teariness, and mainly teariness that sort of comes to the forefront. And when it was happening during my 63 marathons, I don't really know how to cope with this. I'll just keep going. Everybody around me is going to have to sort of work out their coping strategies, and I ran with a few people, and I would burst into tears, and I couldn't really explain why. It was just that that's where I was at. I was tired, I was hormonal, and this is the thing I was going through. So I'm expecting it more now, and just trying to deal with it a little better. I think that knowledge that it's happening, it's a weird thing, because I'm trying to find more information to help me cope better. And this is the coping mechanisms that I'm putting in place for me. They're probably different for different people. And this is going to be an ongoing learning process for me.
And actually, one of the things that you said to me as well was that, a lot of the people that you've had inspiration from, or sought inspiration from in terms of ultra running, have been men. And actually their stories are told a lot more than women's stories.
Absolutely. You're a big promoter or advocate of more women and getting more women's stories out there. So when I started looking at doing these ultras, it was way back in 2009, and the books that I read specifically about running were pretty much predominantly men, with the exception of Rosie Swale Pope, but she didn't write about dealing with these women's issues, and they are women's issues. So I looked around and thought, I haven't seen anything. And when I was experiencing things like the crying, the hormonal changes, bleeding, I was thinking, I can't be the only person who's going through this. I can't be the only ultra runner who's experiencing this. There must be other women, but they're not putting it out there. So when I talk about these, I want to talk about it. Even during the 63 marathons, though, so that was 2019, 17, I wasn't too keen to talk about them live or share them, but although I am writing a book and I am going to write about it because I want the next generation to know. But in the last few years, I've noticed a huge difference in this willingness to be more open and talk about it, and people like you who are really advocating the showing and telling the story of older women and what they're capable of doing.
And that was one of the reasons when I set up my blog, and my original intention was interviewing female runners over 50, and I wanted to find out what their experience of the menopause had been and how it had affected them. And one of the things I realised very quickly is that every woman's experience is unique to her, and it's actually quite difficult to just from interviewing a small number of women, you can't really build. You just get 6 individual experiences. But I also realised that there's a real demand for more information. And on World Menopause Day in, I think it was 2016, I wrote a post on my blog about my experiences of the menopause or perimenopause, where at that point I was thinking, well, I'm feeling okay. It's, things are sort of reasonably good. I don't think I'm that affected. And then sort of, a year later, it was a different picture. And the 3 articles that I've written about the menopause, running and the menopause, are some of the most visited articles on my website, because there clearly are a lot of women who want information. And that's why it's so valuable, I think, that you're sharing your experience, particularly as an ultra runner, because it's still quite a niche field. And but a lot of older women are getting interested in running further distances, and so I think it's really important to share the story.
This is, I think, is one of the strengths of women, is that they have to put up with so much that actually that makes them really, really strong to go through quite a lot of tough times when you're out running in an ultra. So it's a good grounding, if anything, to be able to cope with tough times. So it's I want more people to talk about it, and I want to feel comfortable talking about it, and it's still kind of feels a bit like it's a bit awkward, and it shouldn't be, because these younger girls are going to go through the exact same thing. And if there's people who are there showing and leading the way, it's like you said, everybody's experience is going to be different, but if there is suggestions, if there is coping mechanisms, if there's examples of women not or finding ways to overcome and keep moving and achieving and keep building. So you're trying to get faster, I'm trying to go further, and I'm not letting this be a phase of I can't. It's more a phase of I'll work out how to make it happen.
So you're using your determination and your inspiration.
Superpower is determination and persistence.
But also you're having to be sort of inventive and I suppose kind of flexible, sort of adapting.
Being adaptable is a big power to have, and not letting it overcome you, but finding ways to deal with what you've got.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.